Let's return to one of our earlier stories now. News that America's National Security Agency has been sending its high-level agents into online games such as World of Warcraft. Well, John Hicks is editor of Xbox magazine. He joins me live to talk more about this. He's in London. John, tens of millions of people play these sort of games, don't they? What are the chances of catching an actual terrorist among them?
I would think that the chances would be pretty low. I mean, there are a huge number of players, and people do spend a lot of time in these games. They form kind of lasting social arrangements with people. There's a rich history of people getting married, having met in like World of Warcraft and that kind of thing. But I must confess to being a bit flummoxed as to how you would actually track down terrorists in them. Doesn't really seem like the sort of environment where we could do that easily. And
what would terrorists get out of playing one of these games? How would they benefit? What would they learn? What would they be doing?
Well, I think the only thing that you could say they would learn from it would just be to kind of build, as I said, like lasting relationships with people, because these games are so vast and the players spend so much time in there. They kind of team up and go on quests and that kind of stuff. It seems like the sort of thing where it would be a good way to to meet people, to kind of build up a friendship, and maybe kind of sort of talk people around to your way of thinking. But there are no obvious ways to to turn the conversation around to terrorism that I can think of. I mean, you could argue that the kind of more popular sort of shooters, the NSA did say that it's been monitoring Xbox Live. Obviously, Call of Duty is very popular on Xbox Live, and there's a big there's a sizable number of military people who use that service. So that could conceivably be a slightly more useful.
But would the companies who produce these games, would they be in any way cooperating with the NSA? Because, of course, there have been reports that huge companies have been indeed in cahoots with the National Security Agency.
Well, certainly following today's news, Blizzard, who are the publisher of World of Warcraft, they've come out and explicitly stated that if there was any monitoring, it happened without their knowledge. Microsoft, I don't believe, has commented, but it has been very vocal about its resistance to these things. Microsoft's publicly stated that it hasn't allowed wide-scale access. While it has supplied specific information, it's been kind of quite noisy in its attempts to kind of lobby the government. There's been like a kind of open letters to President Obama asking for the ability to be able to reveal more about what they're doing. And I think even this morning, Microsoft signed up to a new arrangement with some other companies to restrict access.
And just very quickly, would current gamers and indeed potential gamers be put off by this? Does this actually affect the online gaming business, just briefly?
I don't think so. Based on the reaction to today's news, I think most gamers seem to think it's all just a con by people to justify playing games at work. But I think following the scale of the other NSA revelations we've had from the Snowden files, I think it hasn't really come as a surprise to anybody. Like the fact that the NSA is already monitoring email and social networks and that sort of thing. That games are also on the list hasn't really surprised anybody, and it doesn't seem to be putting anybody off.
John Hicks, editor of Xbox magazine, live from London. Thanks for joining us.